Hello and welcome to Tool of the Day. I'm Mr. D, and today we're talking about a familiar little tool called the screwdriver. Screwdrivers might be one of the most basic tools found in the workshop. They're a must-have for anybody who wants to do any kind of home repairs or do-it-yourself tasks around the house. An inexpensive pair can probably be found at the dollar store, or if you're willing to spend a little bit more, you can get yourself a much higher quality set with some additional features you might find useful. There's lots of different kinds of screwdrivers out there, but today I want to talk about just two, the Flathead and the Phillips head. This is a flathead screwdriver. It has a flat head. A Phillips head screwdriver looks like this. It has what looks like a plus sign if you look directly at the end of it, and these are for driving Phillips head screws. So the type of screwdriver you need depends entirely on what type of screw you're trying to drive. Flathead screwdrivers are the older style. Flathead screws used to be the most commonly available type of screw out there. But with flathead screws, the screwdriver is prone to slipping out the side or not fitting well into the slot. So Phillips head screws and screwdrivers have started to steadily take over. While flatheads are a lot less common than Phillips heads these days, there are still some kinds of fasteners that only come in flathead, so you still want to have a flathead screwdriver around just in case. Screwdrivers come in all shapes and sizes, literally. Everything from the short and stubby to the great big long powerful type. You can find a screwdriver for just about any type of fastener that needs to be turned. If you see a more expensive screwdriver and you're wondering why it's worth more money, ask yourself about things like the design of the handle. Is it going to be comfortable in your hand? Is it easy for you to get a good grip on while you're turning it? Ask about the quality of the steel. Is the shape of the tip on that screwdriver going to hold up, or is it going to get stripped out when it meets a screw that's a little bit tougher than the screwdriver? That's a problem. Some screwdrivers like this one are designed to ratchet, so you don't have to release your grip on the handle and reposition it with every turn. You can keep your hand on that handle and crank, crank, crank in small increments. It will ratchet back to the original position and then drive forward through a part of a rotation again. Other screwdrivers have magnetic tips, which is handy if you've ever dropped a screw into a dark and terrible place. This way the screw will stick to the tip of the screwdriver a little bit so that you're not so likely to lose it. Some situations call for micro tiny screwdrivers, like fixing the screws on a pair of glasses, for example. Ordinary screwdrivers are a little bit too clumsy for this type of precise operation. Phillips head screwdrivers come in three standard sizes: 1s, 2s, and 3s. The 1s are a little bit pointier and they fit into very tiny screws. So if you're mounting a tiny pair of hinges onto a very small wooden box, you might use a number 1 screwdriver to drive those tiny screws. If you find yourself using a number 1 screwdriver in a number 2 screw, the screwdriver is more likely to skip around inside that Phillips head slot, and you can either damage and strip out the screw head, or you can damage and strip out the screwdriver. Number 2 is the most common size of Phillips head screwdriver. This is what you use for most things around the house. And sometimes you run into number 3 sized Phillips head screws, which are a little bit shorter and stubbier and look like this. It's a little bit difficult to drive a number 3 screw with a number 2 Phillips head because the pointier number 2 will again skip around in that number 3 screw. And if you're not careful, you'll strip the screw and it'll be very difficult to move in or out. Screwdrivers are very commonly used for the wrong thing. People often reach for a flathead screwdriver when they actually need a pry bar. And flathead screwdrivers are not designed to pry things. When you put pressure on them in a sideways direction, they can pretty easily snap. They're also not designed to be used as a chisel. They're not designed to be sharpened into a sharp blade and driven into a piece of material. If you do that, again, you're very likely to snap off or break part of that flathead screwdriver tip, and then it's pretty useless as a screwdriver. Hopefully you learned something new today about this simple tool we all know and love. Thanks for watching Tool of the Day.